Alright folks, Dale Wyman here. Because I was kind of foolish and listened to our local weathermen today about 15 to 25 mile per hour winds, I decided not to go to Quabbin with my wife Terry today, who was looking forward to it. It's kind of rough water out there and you get soaking wet when those waves are kicking up over the side. But anyway, I decided to tackle an electronic problem that I didn't really have originally, but then it started to happen more frequently with my bow mount unit only on my aluminum tracker, all right, with my Minn Kota Fortrex, all right, and I did everything that I could possibly think of to eliminate some noise, excuse me, before taking a drastic step. No, it's not drastic, but it's probably not for the lighthearted. But let me show you what I tried first, all right, to reduce interference caused by the trolling motor. Foot pedal, when you depress it, you get vertical lines, and I'm going to demonstrate that. But the first thing I tried was on the back of the unit. You can buy these ferrite cores. You see them on video monitor cables and stuff to reduce EMI, or electromagnetic interference. So I installed that on the power cable, all right, and that did not eliminate the problem. So the next thing that I tried was I read online that up here in the head end unit, all right, of your Minn Kota, that there's a fuse it's actually to ground the unit. Well, there is a fuse there, and they said sometimes you'll get a lot of interference if that fuse opens. So I checked it. You just remove the 4 screws, take the top off, check the fuse. It was good, and I checked it with an ohm meter as well as looking at it. So the next thing that I did was I checked the grounding on the battery that I connect all my electronics to, all right, and when I measured between the negative terminal of the battery and the actual hull, it read quite high. Actually, it was in the kiloohms or k-ohm range, when typically that should be 0. If you use a ohm meter and you go between the negative terminal of your car or anything else and the body, you should get 0 ohms or pretty close to it. So I took a cable, the one there with the yellow spade terminal on it, a ring terminal, and I ran it up to the back where I had installed the power pole micro anchor earlier in the year, and that gave me 0 ohms resistance between the battery and my hull. Unless somebody can tell me otherwise, that's typically what you will read. So after that, I still had the problem, which I'm going to demonstrate, right, on my bow mount unit only, and you'll probably only get it on the bow mount unit that's located next to your trolling motor. So here's my new carbon. I'm going to X out of this, discard, clear cursor. Now you can see a pretty clear menu right there, main screen. But when I depress the foot pedal, the first thing you're going to see, and I hear a lot of people complain about this, is noise interference. So I just depressed it. You can see my trolling motor running, and when I let it go, what we're going to see is a distinct vertical bar right there. All right, and when you're using your trolling motor a lot, as we typically do out on the water, it kind of pain in the butt. And this varies, by the way, with the frequency. I noticed that on medium chirp you hardly see it at all, so that might help some of you. And currently I have it set to 200 kilohertz, and you can also see that it is either more or less depending upon the speed that you set of your trolling motor. But at any rate, I tried everything. I checked that fuse, right? I just tried grounding the hull better, as I showed you. And then in doing some research, I also added that EMI ferrite core on the back of the power cable, and that still didn't help. So I went online and I read that people were having a similar problem, particularly on aluminum boats, right, with a Minn Kota trolling motor and their bow mount unit. Probably happens on other trolling motors as well, but I just happened to see a forum out there on a Minn Kota. So this isn't for the lighthearted, but what they recommended was to actually ground your trolling motor, by drilling a hole, all right? And I don't recommend doing it anywhere in the body other than in the trolling motor skeg, which you can see right there. So I drilled a hole and I attached a ground wire, which runs all the way up, right? And I'm gonna dress that up neater. But I wanted to demonstrate this. Right now, when I depress that foot pedal and that ground is not attached to my hull, every time I do so, I just depressed the foot pedal again, right? And I let go, and you'll see that vertical bar. So if you do this a lot, all right, and again, depending on the frequency, you get a lot of interference. Well, I haven't attached the ground yet, but I did run it from the trolling motor up with the other cables, and I will dress it up neatly. But what I'm going to do is, I don't have enough hands, so I'll come back in a second. But as soon as I take this ground cable, right, and I attach it to the hull somewhere, this problem is completely eliminated. I no longer get the vertical bars. So let's see if I can find a spot real quick. I'm going to put the phone down, let it record still, but I'm going to put it down and see if I can just find a real quick place. I don't know, maybe one of the screws right there to pinch this in and make an electrical connection, and then I'll do it up neater. So bear with me. I'm just going to set my phone down while I do this. So take my screwdriver and just loosen up one of these screws that I showed you right next to that cleat, and let's see if I can just pinch that in there and actually make an electrical connection. I got plenty of wires, so I'm going to redo this later anyway. So now that it's attached to that cleat and that screw going down into the hull, okay, forget the connection, it's not permanent, so it looks pretty sloppy. But at any rate, all right, now that I have that, I'm going to come over and depress the foot pedal again, which I just did, and I have no interference whatsoever. All right, so it's depressed, trolling motor's running. Come back to my screen. Sorry, again, I don't have enough hands, but as soon as I make that ground connection, all right, from the trolling motor up to the hull, which I grounded earlier, I get no electrical interference whatsoever. So I know I tried the ferrite core for a friend, Doug Cameron, earlier. It didn't help him, but it's a cheap way to try to eliminate it in the beginning. If you can find a Radio Shack, they still have them, and sometimes it works. If it's a fiberglass boat, that may still help you. But you can see right now, I depressed that foot pedal several times already since I attached that temporary ground right there, and I have no electrical interference whatsoever. So I thought I would share that. If you're fighting this scenario, it could help you out significantly. Again, trolling motor is running. Let it go, start it, let it go, start it, let it go. Come back over to my screen and you can see those vertical bars are history. Hope this helps some of you guys.